this week's top stories. His Majesty the King graced the 4th convocation ceremony of the Colleges of Education in Paro and Samtse on Monday. 9 months after the first phase of Thimphu Tech Park became operational, the commercial spaces still remain vacant. And Royal Monetary Authority says the ban on import of vehicles might go on for another 6 to 7 months. His Majesty the King graced the 4th convocation ceremony of the Colleges of Education in Paro and Samtse early this week. His Majesty was accompanied by Her Majesty the Gelson in Paro for the joint convocation of the 2 Colleges of Education.
Over 1,000 teacher graduates of Samtse and Paro Colleges of Education received their master's and degree certificates today at the convocation graced by Their Majesties the King and the Gelson. Addressing the graduates, His Majesty the King spoke about the importance of recognizing and achieving the national goals of safeguarding national security and sovereignty, promoting peace and unity, good governance and preserving culture and democracy. His Majesty reminded the teachers of their responsibilities towards the country. His Majesty the King said the most important duty of teachers is to ensure that students become strong, capable citizens who contribute meaningfully to the country in future. For this, teachers must cultivate a deep awareness and commitment in their students towards the needs and aspirations of the nation.
As a teacher, please look at students as individuals. Oh, my students. But you have to keep in mind that in your classroom, they're individuals. Individuals with different aspirations, different expectations, different talents, different weaknesses, different needs, and different backgrounds. So, aneboda, tangage che kahara, the lubisu sogale, the china lubi nampanasu yon. Lalu gejo, lalu jem, lalu Samtse, lalu Bhutan, lalu Pemagatshel, lalu na hada porole. Cheregi chinagi netange kadibioga nga jumisa. Te teboda nga chichiga dudube la bego bachin ti kaira nga rashini di kachebal. Te ani zumbe chere alusu de chiga deota boda. Alu rimba jindube reri jindugi konagi keche konagi rawa samchar.
His Majesty the King also told the graduates that the biggest achievement for a teacher is to teach the students to keep learning throughout their lives.
Well, today's day is something I could remember forever. It's like we are getting a reunion, like we met all with our friends, and to get such kind of honor from Our Majesty, it's really wow for all of us.
I feel I'm one of the luckiest person to be here. Since I have met with our Majesty, His Majesty.
It is an extreme feeling that I cannot express from my heart, because when His Majesty said the nation building is in the hand of teacher.
Kampal for Gelson, Pemagatshel for BBS News.
9 months after the first phase of Thimphu Tech Park became operational, the commercial spaces are still vacant. The country's first IT park was established with big dreams of becoming a regional IT hub. But having failed to attract international companies as planned, the future of IT park looks bleak. Our reporter Sonam Hamo finds out what is happening to the much talked about IT park.
The ground floor of the Thimphu Tech Park is occupied by the Bhutan Innovation and Technology Center. The BITC overlooks 3 components: Business Incubation, Shared Technology Center, and Data Center Services. The BITC is an initiative to promote innovation and entrepreneurship in the country. Currently, there are 9 companies within the BITC as incubators.
We're doing great here. I mean, the BITC needs to strengthen its mentoring activities in particular, which is one of the things that attracted us here. We were already operating in town. We had an office located in the center of Thimphu. Now we joined the incubation center to avail of those extra services which are being provided. That means we have some outside business consultants who are coming helping us.
Incubation centers, these are new things, no? And it's very helpful for startup companies. We started in 2008, so we are still a startup company, you know, it's almost only 4 years. So we get a lot of experts coming in here. They help us, we talk to them, we try to learn how businesses are done in their countries, all those things. It's very useful in the sense we get to talk to experts.
The Bhutan Data Center Services has been outsourced to the New Age Technologies Private Limited by the Thimphu Tech Park. It is a joint venture between the New Age Technologies Private Limited and Berlin Technology Solutions Limited of United Kingdom. This data center service takes care of two major cost factors involved in operating the IT services, such as sustainable green power and low cooling costs. The center already has 2 clients.
Basically, if you see the setup here in Bhutan, when you talk about ministries or when you talk about banks, you know, they build their own data center, whereby, you know, they put their storage, servers, applications in one site. And now IT, you know, anytime anything can happen, you know, there might be a power cut or there might be a fiber cut whereby, you know, the whole connectivity is down. So basically now banks, we are talking to many potential clients out here, and in fact I think Common also has their space here at Common's data center, and they're also planning to host G2C applications here.
Meanwhile, the first and second floor of the tech park is still vacant. The plans to rope in major multinational companies went in vain when Genpact and Wipro companies backed out. However, 2 US registered companies, Scan Cafe and Sean Communication, have rented space at IT Park. But since the first and second floor is still not developed, both the companies are accommodating in the BITC. Sean Communication is a business process outsourcing limited liability company. It specializes in voice BPO, also known as call center. They rented the space in September last year.
As in Bhutan, BPO is not much flourish regarding voice is concerned right now. So first when we started the operation month of September 2012, so we faced lots of challenges out here regarding the communication and soft skills is concerned about the Bhutanese people out here. But the people, they got the potential and everything, so they need a proper training. So that's why we are conducting a training for 2 months. So after we complete this 2 months training, then we will start about the operation like previous.
Scan Cafe specializes in digitalizing and editing older formats of photography and video. They rented the space at the IT Park in November last year as a pilot project. Thimphu Tech Park is a joint venture comprising of Asset Property Group Singapore and Duke Holding and Investment, and is promoted by DITT. It has been developed based on design, build, finance, own, operate and transfer public-private partnership. The operation and ownership of IT Park is with the Thimphu Tech Park Private Limited for 90 years, after which it will be transferred to the government. The government is providing facilities like access road, optic fiber connectivity and water supply. Sonam Lhamo for BBS News.
The import of vehicles in the country has reduced by half since the import ban last year. The suspension of vehicle loan has also contributed immensely to the drop in the import. The automobile businesses that have been rendered businessless for some 9 months now have been facing the brunt of the ban on the import of vehicles and also the suspension of vehicle loan.
According to the latest record maintained by the Road Safety and Transport Authority, only over 4,000 vehicles were imported last year before the ban came in. And they were mostly machineries for the projects, power tillers and government vehicles. While in 2011, over 8,000 vehicles were brought into the country. And almost all the vehicles and heavy equipment came in from India, resulting in huge outflow of Indian rupee. As a measure, vehicle loan was suspended since March last year.
So many other activities are also affected. Now, if you look at the trading sector, which used to be a booming sector, the sector has slowed down because we don't have liquidity from the banks given as a loan. At the same time, we don't have rupee reserve at our disposal, and most of the time our imports are from India, so even the trading sector is being hit. Along with that, of course, the private consumption has also been hit. Now, this links us to the traders who deal with private commodities like motor vehicles, like spare parts. So all these are affected.
Samdin Vehicles, one of the distributors of Tata vehicles in the country, used to sell about 60 vehicles in a month before the ban. But now they can barely sell about 4 vehicles in a month. With not much option, most of the automobile dealers are now diversifying their businesses.
Last year, we were quite optimistic that by 2013, January, things might change, but it has not happened so far. And then as of now, we still have around 43 vehicles in stock, so we still survive on that. And then our next strategy is to depend on our workshop. We have sold enough vehicles in the market, and then we are calling back all those vehicles for the reservicing, so which itself is a revenue for our company.
The State Trading Corporation of Bhutan Limited was on the verge of downsizing its staff, but it is now looking at starting new business like pharmaceuticals, agricultural equipment, automatic car wash, hardware materials and car rentals.
The 171 people will not lose their jobs, none of them. On the contrary, we may require a few more staff in order to meet the special requirements of the newly diversified businesses, such as a pharmacist for the pharmaceutical business.
But the success of this new business will still be determined by the economic situation of the country.
There is no rupee or there is no money to finance businesses. Any new business would be hampered. So ours being again completely a import-related business, the situation in 2013, if it continues like it was in 2012, we have a lot of doubts in terms of its successful takeoff.
As of now, the company still has not been able to sell 100 vehicles in stock worth about 120 million Nultrum. The booming construction industry led to an increase in import of heavy earth-moving equipment such as excavators and bulldozers. Such import from India resulted into a rupee outflow of over 1 billion rupees in 2011.
For commercial vehicles, I still feel it quite irrational, because like so many constructions are happening, so many development activities are happening without our commercial vehicles, without which they cannot go ahead actually. So this is something I feel a little irrational. That's my point of view. Because of which most of our employees are losing their job.
The bank says government should consider giving out loans especially for commercial vehicles.
There is going to be a shortage in those heavy equipments, particularly those even the trucks and the heavy equipment. So those are going to be a major problem when few of those projects open up in 2013. But as of now, I think we are pretty comfortable.
A professor with the Royal Thimphu College said move could affect the trade relations.
It would definitely create a situation where the trading between the different countries or the linkage between the two industries in India and Bhutan would be affected. The industries would be much more thoughtful of investing in Bhutan or having trade relationship with the Bhutanese counterparts.
However, on positive note, he added, the ban is being imposed for the interest of the country.
Something that is good for the economy may not be good for some firms. So I think something we should be now looking beyond the individual interest to the country's interest. I think it is in country's interest to do that. So as far as the vehicle industry is concerned, I think it is in the interest of the country to do that. And that's the best that's the price the individual have to pay for country's growth.
And the price has been paid for nearly a year now. Things might change, but when? With additional information from Somwongdi, Pemagatshel for BBS News.
With no specific law to address women-related issues, particularly domestic violence, RENEW often faces challenges in assisting vulnerable women. Founded in 2004, RENEW is a non-profit organization dedicated towards helping victims of domestic violence and other forms of violence. One of the challenges is the stereotyped notion among some section of the society that domestic violence is not a social issue but a private affair. And when victim seeks assistance from RENEW, it is at times considered as an intervention by abusers. Now the challenge is to ensure maximum protection and security for the victims.
There was an instance where there was a victim who was the story of the victim was mentioned in one of the media, and she was re-victimized by her abuser and family. I'm a little hesitant even to share this because Bhutan being a small society, somehow people know who the person in the story is, and I think having a legislation, at least these kind of issues can be addressed directly.
Every year, RENEW is seeing an increasing number of victims of domestic violence. In 2010, over 300 cases of domestic violence were registered with RENEW office, while in 2011, the figure went up to 450. To provide assistance to all victims has also become a challenge for RENEW.
RENEW being the only organization, we face a tremendous financial problem. And if the state takes the responsibility of at least providing the shelter services, which is one of the clauses that is mentioned in the domestic violence bill.
Realizing the ever-increasing number of cases related to domestic violence, the National Commission for Women and Children drafted Domestic Violence Bill in 2010. After consultative meetings with stakeholders, it was found out that the bill was not suitable enough to address the issues. Thus, the bill was drafted again in 2011.
It went through rigorous consultations with various stakeholders and most importantly, all issues and concerns raised by the stakeholders who would actually help.
The National Assembly discussed the bill in the 9th session of the Parliament, and the bill was enacted and sent to the National Council for review. Pemagatshel for BBS News. Drukgyal Dzongpa received its certificate of registration from the Election Commission on Monday. Drukgyal Dzongpa is second among the aspiring political parties to get registered.
A historic moment for Drukgyal Dzongpa as the party received certificate of registration, allowing them to contest in the upcoming election. Speaking at the event, the president of Drukgyal Dzongpa, Lili Wangchuk, said her party pledged to serve the Sawasum with absolute loyalty and devotion, and the party will dedicate its conduct of public affairs in a manner worthy of responsibility and abide by electoral law.
Well wishes. Drukgyal Dzongpa has been granted.
Later in the press conference, she said one of the main priorities will be taking JNH to the grassroots level, and addressing youth and social issues will be another. Lili Wangchuk said political parties should not praise themselves for serving the people.
In a few months, we shall have a second election. This is when choices will be made. Words will be weighed, actions will be tested, for we Bhutanese know better. So what shall we judge? How shall we generate trust? DCT makes no claim that its members shall serve. We have reached this moment only by making service a habit. DCT shall not glorify what it does without a thought. We on on the contrary, expect fellow political parties to also make a habit of serving others, not seeking applause for it.
DCT has 7 working committees, including candidate selection, women and youth, and research development. The party will now be finalizing their 47 candidates. The Duk Jirwang Sokpa will convene its General Assembly in February. Sonam Lhamo for BBS News.
In an attempt to preserve the feeding ground for the black-necked cranes, farmers of Bimkar and Beyuling villages have been leaving their fields fallow in winter. Farmers of these 2 villages complain that they have not been compensated as promised earlier by the Dzongkhag administration and park officials.
The 2004 flood in Bumdaling damaged a vast portion of the black-necked crane's roosting ground in Tashyangti. Since then, the cranes have been flying to Beiling in Bimkar, near Tashyangti town, to feed during the day. Farmers living in and around the Tashyangti town have been under lots of pressure from the Dzongkhag and the park officials. To conserve the cranes and their feeding ground, the farmers have been asked to do away with winter farming activities.
We are still trying to even revive the paddy fields in Bumdaling to some extent by giving some protection to the river, but it is quite a Herculean task to do that, because every year we have flash floods from the source, because being a mountainous country, it is very difficult to block those. Even if we have a permanent structure built, I think it's challenging for us. We need huge amount of resources to build any permanent structures to contain those floods.
The landowners, although concerned about the cranes too, are disappointed with a lot of other restrictions imposed to them.
People grow potatoes and other crops in their fields, and there have been cases where wild animals have been destroying these harvests. So in order to protect the cranes, people are restricted from installing barbed wires and also told to put down the ones that were already up, or else they would be fined. This has incurred loss to many farmers. People are also not allowed to work around these areas so that it does not shoo away the bird. This has made many people unhappy.
In order to compensate their loss, the Dzongkhag administration promised the farmers to provide various farm machineries. But the farmers are not happy since the Dzongkhag administration failed to keep up their promise. So far, only 1 power tiller has been supplied to the farmers of 2 villages.
It is problematic. In order to protect the cranes, we are not allowed to harvest anything in winter at all.
If we have power tiller in both the villages, maybe our problem won't be so big, because with just 1 power tiller we have to share, and when one uses it, the other village has to be idle.
Nothing was given that was promised, except for 1 power tiller, which has to be shared, and that doesn't help us solve the problems.
Dzongda Sangye Tuba said they will keep up their promise and deliver the farm machineries to them as promised.
But it is very difficult because of the limited budget that we get, and we have lots of developmental activities. We cannot just apportion the development budget to compensate this. It has to come up as a project package from some development donors side, who has the objective to support this conservation of black-neck crane. So we have been discussing with them. So in the past, probably also maybe they had a long wish list also, but maybe the Dzongkhag and the park management we were not able to fulfill. But even today, I feel that they will come up with similar sort of list, but at the same time, we would like to also appeal to them and say that this is for their own benefit.
The issue is likely to prolong until the Dzongkhag and farmers come up with a solution favorable to both the parties. The dwindling numbers of cranes in the Dzongkhag is, however, a serious concern for both the Dzongkhag administration and the farmers. Ishitoki, BBS News, Kanglung.
Shortage of drinking water is a common problem in Pemagatshel. Despite efforts to solve the shortage, the problem persists. Chimung village is one of the villages plagued with water shortage.
Water shortage is not a new problem for the people living in Pemagatshel. Although the problem is decades old, yet the people are still suffering as there seems to be no solution so far. Villagers in Chimung village said the problem gets worse during summer.
Water problem is worst in some parts of the village. So far, we have been sharing water with the school. We hope the problem will ease once the school gets a separate water tank.
Chimung Primary School is also sharing the same problem. However, with the new water tank constructed, the school hopes the problem would end.
UNICEF ki ko mangal jap chuki tholebe da ya chu ka gi tanki di so sa ne bodalo majina chu gi kangel di hamadi mapale tendinu iroya de dala pangaji alu chu gi tap stands sugara lambera chu di ane bodalo se chuno riwa.
The school has about 50 boarding students. According to the Gyok Mangmi, there is only one water source in Chimung, which makes the situation worse.
Since we have only one water source, we are constantly facing shortage of drinking water. This year, we had good monsoon season, so the problem was not so severe. However, we have plans to construct water pump in the village, and we hope this would solve the problem.
Chimung village has over 60 households. Compiled for Tiledoji, Karmatring, BBS News.
That is all we have for this week. Join us again next week, same time, as we bring you a selection of some of our reports of the week. Thanks for watching.